right, I think we got it figured out. Everything, the cache is cleared, the cookies are gone, the Windows update is done. So as you guys are rolling back in, I'm just gonna jump right back into it. Devin said over the weekend I was showing my friend around my new house. He asked, "What's upstairs?" I said, "Bro, stairs don't talk. Shh, don't talk." I was gonna jump right back into this as you guys are rolling in. Make sure that if you're over on TikTok, you hit that like button. Yeah, I did finally fix it. Thank you. Let's see. Where is my outline actually? Make sure I got that. There we go. Okay, I think we're ready to go now. Move this. There we go. All right, we're back. Sorry, we're going to come back. I told Andrew to come watch. Yeah, he should come watch. He should come talk about how his debate strategy is pretty easy to pick apart. Social Security, we are not allowed to spend more money on Social Security than we take in. However, the government regularly borrows from it, and so we pay interest on Social Security.
So
where
paying
the government
more?
has stolen from it. Yeah, and I'm against that too.
So to get this right.
All right, now we're to the part. Andrew has decided that he's gonna leave the moral argument for a minute, and now we're gonna debate an argument where he feels like he has an upper hand. Here's what the claim was. My claim was that there's something like about $40 billion a year that illegal immigrants pump into Social Security. And they do that using a stolen Social Security number, a number that they'll never be able to collect benefits on, but that because it's stolen, they have to pay into Social Security because it looks like they're working here legally under that name. So now we're talking about Social Security if we're going to talk about harm. And Andrew's going to make the case here that if we get rid of everybody, we will lose that money, but we will have less. We will have to pay out less money. No, actually, I think the claim that he's going to make here is we're going to that if we give amnesty, then it will make Social Security more defunct. And he's doing that by saying, first he said that we steal from Social Security when what he really means is we borrow from Social Security. A lot of people don't know. You're not allowed. Like Social Security has to be paid for. It's a 1-to-1. You're not actually allowed to go into debt to pay out Social Security. So the only reason we have debt when it comes to Social Security is because members of Congress steal from Social Security, and then they basically take a loan from Social Security that they have to pay back. And so technically that's debt that we owe to ourselves, right? So, but Social Security itself can't break us. We can only go into debt with Social Security if we borrow from it, which we probably shouldn't be allowed to do.
What your plan's actually, the entailment of your plan is that you would give millions more people Social Security numbers who then the government would borrow against, and we would actually increase our debt because we spend more money per year on Social Security than we get out of Social Security. So, but hang on, by your metric then, if that's the case, and you just agree.
Just to be clear, that's not true. We spend the same amount on Social Security as we get in. It has to be 1-to-1. The deficit comes when we borrow from it, right? So this isn't true what he's saying.
That it was, then I would say that would be a negative, and negative outcomes are to be avoided when we can, because that's bad and immoral.
I actually didn't agree to any of that. Just because there's more money in Social Security doesn't mean that the government will borrow from it. The government has a spending problem.
Can you tell me the last year the government didn't borrow from Social Security? Can you tell me the last year the government didn't borrow from Social Security?
Let me just finish my statement before you freak the fuck out.
Go ahead,
Okay.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, the government doesn't have to steal from Social Security. They don't have to.
But do
in
they?
fact, I think that we should actively work on electing people who promise not to steal from Social Security.
Yeah, can you tell me how much can you give me the last Democrat administration who didn't borrow from Social Security?
Probably not. I'm not a Democrat though.
Yeah, well, can you give me the last Democrat or even Republican that didn't borrow from Social Security?
I don't think anybody in my lifetime hasn't borrowed from Social Security.
So then would it stand to reason then that the trend would continue, that the government would continue to borrow money from Social Security and then accrue interest on that, thus actually creating more in the way of.
And by the way, what he's talking about too is borrowing from the trust fund. not Social Security itself. So the trust fund was meant as a way to invest in our economy and help, rather than raising the cap, rather than charging people more. The idea was, oh, we'll put it in a trust fund, and the trust fund will gain interest, and we'll grow Social Security that way. And then they take from that trust fund. So, by the way, even if that trust fund goes solvent, which is when Republicans tell you that Social Security is on the verge of insolvency and that it will go bankrupt in, I think the projection was like 2036, what they actually mean is that the trust will be out of money. And that's because they're borrowing from it and not paying back into it. Not because they're paying out too many benefits into Social Security. It's because they're borrowing from it. And if that goes bankrupt, if we lose the Social Security trust, which should never have been there in the first place, people receiving Social Security will still get 80% of their benefits. It's not that they will get no benefits. They will still get 80% of their benefits because Social Security is almost entirely paid for, except for that trust fund that they borrow from. So he doesn't even have that part right. But just so you know, what Andrew is trying to do here with this discussion is Andrew is trying to say, those people that pay into Social Security, it's $40 billion a year. If we take that those people and we give them amnesty, then they can actually collect on that $40 billion that they put in, which isn't really true because it would be a new $40 billion and it would actually restart because they would start at day one. And with amnesty, most people who have said we should give amnesty say that you should have to wait 15 years at a minimum, sometimes 20 years, before you receive any benefit. Or if you don't want to have a waiting period, which we get into with Andrew in a minute here, you could also have to pay like a penalty. And I don't remember what word I used here. I think I was using the word incorrectly. I think remittance. Yeah, remittance. I was using remittance, which was the wrong word. But they would just have to pay a fee to make up the gap in Social Security. So it kind of be like this little buffer that we throw in there because we're still going to have to pay out people now. But basically what Andrew's trying to say now is that if we remove these people, it's fine. But if we add everybody in, then we have to pay out more. And that means the government can borrow more. Not entirely true. But the government's going to borrow anyways. They can either borrow from Social Security, or they can borrow from other countries, or they can borrow from rich people. The government's never going to stop borrowing, but he's trying to make this one-to-one where it would actually help us if we got rid of people, because then the government couldn't borrow as much money. There's no evidence that that's true. There's other places they can borrow money from.
Debt, meaning that they're paying out more than they're taking in because they've accrued this additional debt.
No, because they're not taking the debt. The Social Security is not the debt. The reason that the government takes from Social Security is because it's somebody who will lend to them. Maybe if we were a little more strict on Social Security, they couldn't lend from Social Security. But I've seen no evidence that any amount of budgeting is ever going to stop our federal government from overspending. I don't think this is a very good argument. I don't think it's a good argument.
Well,
to say if more people pay into Social
totally
Security,
fair.
See what happens when Andrew engages in a real debate about this? He's in Fucksville. He's in La La Land. That argument is dog shit. We can't do amnesty because then the federal government will be able to borrow more money against Social Security. They'll find a way to borrow money. This is why Andrew doesn't engage in real debate, because he accidentally wandered into this debate and he had nothing. He literally had, well, then the government will be able to borrow more, which is terrible. That's a pretty low level debate claim there when it comes to immigration. That's why Andrew doesn't want to have this debate, because Andrew just wants immigrants gone, specific immigrants, specific looking immigrants, because Andrew wants a Christian, nationalist, patriarchal oligarchy. Andrew doesn't like democracy. Andrew's not a fan of democracy. If you're a woman here, he doesn't want you to be able to vote. But he can't say that. He can't just say, like, I just want everybody gone that's standing in the way of me having a Christian theocracy. You can't just say that, because people will be like, I don't want that. So he has to engage in this type of bullshit. But you'll notice every once in a while Andrew accidentally wanders into a policy debate, and he's not equipped for that. The government will spend more money. I think that's pretty fucking loose.
Okay, then all you got to do is show me the instance or the year in which the government was not taking in the Social Security payments from all of the benefactors and then borrowing against it, thus creating debt.
Every year. The answer to that, and I wish I would have listened more carefully, the answer to that is every year. Because they're not borrowing from Social Security, they're borrowing from a trust. So every year is a year that they don't borrow from Social Security. They borrow from the trust, which I think should be eliminated. But even then, if they run out of money in the trust, then it's 80% of your benefits. And then what we'll do is, if we don't have a trust anymore, instead of taking money out of Social Security for the trust, it'll stay in Social Security. And eventually you would probably have to add a tax increase to make up for that for probably 10 or 15 years. And eventually it would be 100% funded again. This is a hypothetical that doesn't make any fucking sense, but Andrew doesn't understand what he's talking about. He doesn't understand where the borrowing's coming from. He doesn't understand the solvency of Social Security. He doesn't understand any of this, which is why he's going to try and revert back to morality. I think you're drawing a correlation without a causation there. I don't think that you could say that our net receipts for Social Security is why the government goes into more debt. I think you'd have a really hard time proving that.
Then why don't they put it in a lockbox?
Because they didn't listen to Al Gore. I don't know.
Why don't they?
No, I agree. He doesn't hide his Christian nationalism. He does in this debate. If he's debating Christian nationalism, he doesn't hide it. But he's hiding it here. He doesn't want to talk about his beliefs here, because that exposes like what his intent is. He's definitely not talking about immigration though, because they don't want to. They want to keep borrowing from it.
Why?
Because it's money that comes in every year.
So they wanted. So hang on. Yeah. So to get this right, the government wants to borrow all this Social Security money that comes in every year, which accrues debt, meaning that they're actually
it doesn't accrue debt. You can rub your temples all you want, but it doesn't accrue debt. Trust the trust being in existence allows the government to accrue debt. Social Security is not accruing any debt. The government is accruing debt by borrowing from the trust. And it's also flawed logic to say we must end Social Security so that we can't accumulate more debt. That's silly. We'll just accumulate more debt. It has nothing to do with Social Security. This is a terrible argument.
Spending more money than they're paying, or I'm sorry, than they're getting.
And that's another good point. Whoever said, Earth Keeper said, just raise the cap on Social Security from 170K, and there's no issue with funding indefinitely. That's right. There should be no cap on when you stop paying Social Security. The more money you make, like you have to keep paying into Social Security no matter how much money you make. Yeah, that fixes the entire problem. You're absolutely right. And just write a law that says you can't borrow from Social Security.
They're spending more money than they're getting from Social Security by borrowing it, yeah?
Yeah.
Great.
But they're going to spend it. They're going to spend it anyways.
Hang on, I just want to point this. I just want to point out. Well, they won't spend it if it's not there, right?
Yes,
They'd have to borrow from somewhere else.
Yeah, they'll just sell more They'll sell more Treasury bonds.
Yeah. So they'll
sell it to billionaires.
So
and then we'll pay Callie, this isn't money we don't have. You dumb piece of shit. This is money that we do have. The government is borrowing against money that we do have to spend money that we don't have. I'm saying don't borrow from Social Security. That's what I'm saying. Don't borrow from it. But you don't have to end. It's like saying, like, just Callie Cam, imagine you have like a shit brother, like just a complete fucking degenerate brother, and he's always borrowing money from you. And let's say that you have a trust fund set up, and he's like, hey, I know you have this trust fund. I'm going to keep borrowing from this trust fund. You're not using it now. Your parents set it up for you. And you just keep lending money to your brother for the trust fund. And then eventually somebody's like, hey, your brother's just going to keep borrowing money from that trust fund. You're almost out of money. Would your solution to that, Callie Cam, be quit your job and stop making money? Of course not. Your solution would be cut off the guy that's borrowing. Just cut him off. Why would we shut down Social Security? Why would I think like 60% of seniors depend on that. Just shut down the program so the government doesn't have Social Security to borrow against? You know that's a bad argument. Andrew knows it's a bad argument. Everybody here knows that's a bad argument. It's just the only argument that he has because he doesn't know any of this stuff because he wants to have a discussion about morality. Billionaires instead of to Social Security.
So then under this economic plan, it actually makes no sense because what you're saying is that all you would do is accrue more Social Security numbers for the government to accrue more debt from as they borrow against it.
No, I think
okay. Tell me how that doesn't work. Tell me how it doesn't work that way.
I don't think there's any evidence that says if the government started taking in less Social Security that they would borrow less money. They would just borrow it. Can somebody in the chat help me out and just explain, Cam, the difference between Social Security and the Social Security Trust? Cam, I think you're deliberately stupid. If you're actually this stupid, I'm concerned for you. Like I've explained this like 5 times already. What the trust is, what Social Security is. You don't seem to get that. So, chat, can you take care of Cali Cam and help him understand the difference between Social Security and the Social Security Trust Fund? Somebody else.
I'm sorry. Hang on. So you're just saying that they would move to borrowing elsewhere, right?
Yes, they will sell
that
treasury
particular
bonds.
source,
They'll sell treasury bonds.
and that's bad, right?
What do you mean that's bad?
Well, according to this is not to be desired or approved of. Yeah.
What's not? Selling treasury bonds?
No, the fact that they would borrow from.
Do you see how he just used a different definition? See how he just made up a definition that I didn't give? He doesn't even know what my definition is now. Now he's using new definitions that he wrote down. He forgot what my definition was.
Other device other than Social Security.
What?
Dude,
Bro,
I don't know how to make this any clearer.
Are you saying now I'm saying that borrowing is bad? Is that where we're at now? I'm at my claim.
Well,
is
you
now
said that
evolved
borrowing from Social
mass
Security is
deportations
bad.
do more harm than good. No, you said that. You brought that up.
Borrowing from well, then why would you want it in a lockbox?
You brought up the lockbox.
And you said we should do it.
No, you said why don't they? And I said they don't listen to Al Gore.
Okay, so then they should borrow from Social Security?
See, so he makes a claim. I laugh at his claim, and now he's trying to, again, now he's going to go back and try and pin me down to this. I don't think you should borrow from Social Security. I'm against borrowing from Social Security. I'm also against borrowing more money than you spend. None of that has to do with the fact that he's trying to make an argument that we should deport illegal immigrants to clear up all this. If we get rid of all illegal immigrants, are we going to stop borrowing from Social Security? No. Are we going to stop selling treasury bonds? No. In fact, we will be less financially solvent because of that $40 billion that goes in there that is never collected. It actually puts us in a worse financial position, which was the original point. The original point is that his version of removing these people is actually worse than the status quo. I would like better than the status quo, but the status quo is better than what he wants. He wants worse. The government will still be able to borrow, and there's $40 billion in receipts every year that they also won't get. So they'll borrow against Social Security anyways. It'll be funded $40 billion less, and we will lose massive amounts of workers. We'll lose massive amounts of businesses, and factory farming will take over. That's the argument here. He wants this worse option for some reason. Brown people. That's why he wants this option. This entire argument on its face is so fucking stupid, and it's so fucking clear that what Andrew wants to do here is talk about morality, because when we talk about the actual numbers, what he's actually asking for is, let's get rid of people, let's lose receipts, the government's still going to borrow, but I'm going to make this argument where if we get rid of illegal immigration, our government will stop borrowing money against Social Security, which there's no evidence that would. You could flip this around. He said, when's the last administration that didn't borrow against Social Security? Never. So why would they stop now that illegal immigrants are gone? They wouldn't. So what does that mean? It means we have receipts that are $40 billion less than before we got rid of illegal immigrants, and our government is still borrowing against that, which means treasury bond rates are going to have to be higher, which means our interest that we pay on our debt is going to have to be higher because it's a riskier investment. So people that invest in treasury bonds will say, I don't want 3% returns. I need 7% returns because it's a riskier investment than it was before because you are financially closer to insolvency. It's a dumb argument. No, I don't think they should borrow at all. But that's just economically. I don't think that's like sometimes you need to borrow money. Like when we go to war, sometimes we have to borrow money. Sometimes we need to borrow money. We don't always have to borrow money.
Okay, got it. So do you think we shouldn't borrow money?
No, sometimes we should, sometimes we shouldn't.
Okay, so do you think that we should be borrowing money from Social Security?
Only if we absolutely have to.
Okay, so then we should avoid it because after all, that would create a negative outcome, and we should avoid those when we can, right?
Sure, and if you increase the action that I have a problem with is them borrowing from Social Security. This argument could be used to say we should no longer collect taxes at all. We should no longer be able to borrow money at all. And maybe we're going to lose the audio again. Position that you can't borrow money at all?
I didn't say that.
No, I'm just wondering.
No.
I mean, I would be far more comfortable with that, but I'm not. That doesn't mean that I should have. It's interesting how Andrew won't take positions, right? The criticism under here is literally like RTP's defending a position that includes the word harm and good, refuse to have a discussion. Everybody in the comments here that's sending super chats is saying I refuse to take a position. Andrew won't take a position. abandon an immigration position because it gives the government access to more
I'm
money.
not saying you should abandon the immigration position, but you should abandon the immigration position that the government's going to intake far more money based on the fact that if we issue people Social Security numbers, people will pay into Social Security because, and here's why you should abandon that
I never
position.
made that. That wasn't my claim. Yeah, again,
Oh, okay, then why should we give all these illegal immigrants? Then why? Okay, then why should we give all of these? Then why should we give all these illegal immigrants Social Security numbers again?
Because it makes the most fiscal sense.
Why?
Do I gotta read the opening statement again?
Because
this is again, you didn't read my opening statement. My opening statement laid out like 15 different ways that financially we benefit from illegal immigration. And he boiled it down to two things: GDP and now Social Security. In fact, one of the only places that that I didn't really address was Social Security. All I said was that immediately overnight we would have $40 billion less in receipts for Social Security. That was it. This is a very small, minute part of my argument. But if we gave everybody here that's here illegally amnesty, they immediately start paying into Social Security. And that means more money goes into Social Security, which means that the risk is diversified. That means you have more people paying in for less. The people right now, like we have baby boomers who are just entering Social Security. They are one of the biggest generations. We have the millennials who are an even bigger generation coming up. We desperately need more people paying into Social Security because we're not replacing those workers. So we either have to have a bunch more babies, which Andrew wants, white babies, or we have to allow immigrants to come here and work, and we have to replenish the money that's going into Social Security. It's just a simple math equation. And since we're not replacing these people with babies, we have to replace these people with workers, and those workers have to come from someplace. And there's a lot of people here that are willing to work. So why not replace those workers that we need with people who are already here, who aren't breaking the law, who just want to work? Why not do the most sensible thing? Because they're brown. They
right?
They pay in. Mm-hmm. Two, if they are here legally, they're more likely to report things like crime. They invest into the schools locally.
Yeah, but let's just start with Social Security.
Okay.
So on Social Security, you want them to pay in on Social Security, right?
Sure.
And you want them to get the benefits of Social Security back out.
Sure.
But if it's the case that when the government borrows from Social Security and they're giving them these outward payouts after we give them Social Security numbers, the government's going more into debt, this would go into your rule that would be a negative outcome, and we should avoid those when we can.
I think that borrowing is not as much of a negative outcome against Social Security.
Okay, why?
Because it's money that gets paid back.
So wait a second, at interest?
Yeah, at interest.
Okay, then that would be a negative outcome, which should be avoided because it deliberately hurts the economy. That's your metric for bad.
But not all negative outcomes are the same.
Then we're back to your definition of bad. Deliberately hurting the economy, according to you, is bad.
See? He just wants to bring it back to a moral discussion. That's all he's looking for. And I'll end the debate. I'll end it here, and we'll get into the news today. That's Andrew's entire debate strategy. Somebody said earlier, like, if Andrew already conceded these points to me, then why are we discussing them? I don't know. He's discussing them. He's already conceded this part of the debate, and now he's going back and revisiting this part of the debate and not coming up with anything decent. I think he conceded because he knows he doesn't have any good answers. So now that he's conceded, and now that all of my economic points have been conceded, now he wants to go back to the morality of the debate, which I said from the beginning I'm not really interested in. And you weren't here, Austrian Hero. Maybe you weren't here at the beginning. I want to be clear. This is not my prompt. This was not my prompt. This was Sarah's prompt. And I had already debated this prompt with somebody else. And the way that the debate was set up is he would argue that mass deportations do more good than harm. And I would argue the opposite side of that mass deportations do more harm than good. And so the debate was set up where we each had a position. And so when I took that debate with Stephen, and then Andrew on Twitter challenged me to a debate, Sarah basically said, we're going to run it back. So this was never a position that I said, like, I'm going to take the affirmative here and I am going to defend this position. If I knew that we were having a debate where Andrew wasn't going to debate the opposite side and he was just going to go after the claim, I would have changed the claim. I would have made it something that I could definitively defend. It's an obtuse claim, but I'm not the one that chose this prompt. Sarah did. So there's maybe a miscommunication there, but I was under the impression that I was coming to the same type of debate on Raging Tomato that I did the week prior. And you can go watch that. And we actually had a debate about this stuff. We didn't debate on what is good, what is harm. So if you guys think I came into this debate with the understanding that this was a claim that I had to defend the wording of, you're wrong. It was my understanding that Andrew would be debating the opposite, that Andrew would be debating that mass deportations do more good than harm, because that's how it was set up the first time. So maybe a miscommunication. Maybe that's on Sarah. Maybe that's on Andrew. Maybe it's on me. I don't know. But we did not come to this debate with the same understanding of what we were debating. Either way, once it was very clear that I said I'm not interested in having this debate, Andrew couldn't adjust because he can't adjust. He had no intention of debating immigration. His only intention at all was to take this claim and beat it up. That was it. But again, it wasn't mine. That was Sarah's. It was Sarah's prompt. Sarah chose this. She didn't say, what prompt do you want? She didn't say, hey, you're the affirmative here. You need to be able to defend this claim and Andrew's going to pick it apart. I would have made a different claim. I probably wouldn't have even taken this. I would have taken a more specific part of immigration. I wouldn't have debated it as a whole, because I do think that it's largely subjective, especially when it comes to what Andrew wanted to talk about, which was social cohesion. How are we going to define that? How would we even determine the greater harm to social cohesion? Now, I think the greater harm to social cohesion is what the Trump administration is doing right now. Andrew would disagree. What are we going to do? Get polling? The only way to actually settle that is by polling. Which one is going to do more harm to social cohesion? And we'd say, are more people going to be upset if we do it or if we don't do it? And then we would have to say, well, the people that are most upset, what's their reaction going to be? Are they going to destroy property? Are they going to become violent? Would that destroy social cohesion more? I wouldn't have taken this prompt. So maybe that's the disconnect, and I can give Andrew that. Like maybe he thought that this is what I came up with, but it's not. This isn't what I came up with. Steven and I were working in the back end, and Sarah helped us come up with this prompt the first time because he was going to take the opposite position. We were going to debate actual immigration. So that was my understanding coming into this debate, is that he was going to say that mass deportations do more good than harm, and I would be on the opposite side of that. That was the way it was set up. So whatever we have to do there. I would also like to point out one more thing, that I do appreciate Sarah's platform. I do appreciate what she does. However, every time we talk about religion, for some reason, it becomes a 2-on-1. And you can go watch this debate. When I point out that religion is made up, Sarah often debates me. So this did wind up as a 2-on-1, then a panel of 6v1 at its end. I feel comfortable that I defended whatever fucking position I was supposed to defend. I feel very comfortable in that. And I think that anybody that's watching this that's an Andrew fan is going to say Andrew won, and anybody who's just a fan of me is going to say I won. And I think almost everybody else watching this debate will be like, what the fuck was that? That was an absolute fucking nightmare. One guy tried to ask the other guy to define terms, and the other guy wanted to talk about immigration, and we never really got anywhere on any of that. So there you go. Are you still saying that, Austrian Hero? How many more times do we have to? Are you just going to keep saying the same thing? Yeah, I don't know. Or maybe now it's catching up. So there we go. Let's jump into the news for the day. Jen, do you want to do some announcements real quick? I'll add these up, and then we'll go. Matthew said his focus on semantics was immediately exhausting. Devin said over the weekend I was showing I did that one. Wait, do I have Jen? Jen, are you there? It's showing me another. It might be on your end, Jen. It's showing me a warning light, I think, when you try and talk.
What are you talking about?
Oh, never mind. Welcome. It was showing
Definitely not on mine.
It was showing like a warning light. That was weird.
Oh, I switched. My spawn is coming home. She's coming home today, so I moved between phones. So I probably hung up for a second. And I when I switched phones. So that's probably what you're saying. Anyway, so we've got about what is it? An hour and a half left of the show. That gift goal, you need to update the total.
That's what I'm doing right now.
Okay. So when he gets that total updated, we've got till 1 o'clock Pacific Standard Time to hit that number. How we do that is with Venmo, Cash App, PayPal, Super Chats, all of that go towards knocking down that gift goal. This is our job. We do this each day, Monday through Friday, from 9:30 to 1 Pacific Standard Time. So if you guys could help us out, do that quick, fast, in a hurry. That would be amazing. If you guys aren't already subscribed to us, please do so. We do have for paid subscriptions on TikTok, Twitch, and paid memberships on YouTube. We've started having more of these member-only events. So if you guys would like to join us for the next one on Thursday, you can do that by subscribing with a paid membership. If you disagree with our TP, you can actually come in and talk to him.
Probably not today.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm probably not going to. Yeah, I'm
Okay.
not going to take guests today.
Okay, just kidding. You can't talk today. Tomorrow. Check out our link tree in our bio. We're on most social media platforms. We've got merch. Jay has Cameo, and also these episodes are uploaded to Spotify. And then I think if I'm missing anything else. Yeah, I think that's about it. What's the difference between a camera and a sock?
I feel like there's a lot of differences. A camera and a sock. I don't know.
One takes photos, the other takes 5 toes. Anything you might want to double check your math because I had a different number.
Okay. Caitlin said, L. Andrew Wilson, fuck Christian nationalism. Jessica said, what do you mean by harm, though? I read Laura's. Did I miss any here? I think so. Let's see. Do the math. You might be missing some that I'm missing, though, too, Jen. There we go. All right, let's jump into the news of the day. First of all, Donald Trump went to the Club World Cup yesterday, which was a cool event. Shout out to my favorite soccer team, the Chelsea Fighting Chelsers, who won and got to share the stage with Donald Trump. I saw Clay Travis tweet this same thing. There are a lot of right-wingers going and posting videos of Donald Trump being cheered. I can just tell you, this is from the live event here. This is what happened when Trump was on the Jumbotron. You can see it really affects Kristi Noem. Watch her reaction when the boos come. He was not popular. And Donald Trump does this thing where he walks out. He walked out onto the field and he stops and he'll wave and wave and wave. And you'll always notice a cameraman right there. He does it every single time. They will play this as if he was cheered. He's not terribly popular. There were people cheering, but this was my favorite part of the day. And I tweeted this out. You may say it. So at the end of the game, Chelsea wins. If you watch soccer, you know that once you get the trophy, then you stand up there, you hold the trophy up, and everybody starts dancing. Now, Donald Trump is right here in the middle of everybody. And this is, I don't know who this is, whoever the head of, this might be the head of FIFA here. He's actually, you can see his hand outstretched. He's trying to get Donald Trump off because these Chelsea players are trying to celebrate. And they were even asked about it later, like, what was going on with him up there. They're like, I don't really know why he was up there. I have no idea. We were just trying to celebrate. He seemed to be there for no reason. This is the FIFA director trying to get him off. But I do want to say one thing. If you guys can't see this, can I zoom in here? Whoops. Won't let me zoom in here. All right. Damn. Right here, this guy that's holding the trophy, his name is Reese James. You can see next to him is Donald Trump. Donald Trump looks to be almost, I mean, his eye level is about the level of Reese James's mouth. Now, Reese James is wearing cleats, which are going to give him about an inch lift. So it pops on. So let's call him 6 foot. Tippy toes, let's call him 6'2", maybe. This goalkeeper here, I think, is 6'3". These are soccer players. They are not over 6 feet tall, most of them. And they are towering over the 6'3" monstrosity of Donald Trump here, who for some reason is on stage with these folks who wanted nothing to do with him. So I just wanted to point that out, that this bitch is not 6'3". I also want to talk about our friend Joel Patrick, who appears to have been replaced. What's her name? Caitlin Bennett. Caitlin Bennett used to drag Joel Patrick around. And Caitlin Bennett, what she likes to do is she likes to confront leftist voters and then bring out a minority to be like, haha, what are you going to say now? And Joel apparently got replaced. He sold off his white privilege cards. She shit her pants. She got really unpopular. But now she's back and she's playing the same game, but this time without Joel Patrick.
If you could say one thing to a Trump supporter, what would you say to them?
Oh, yeah, go fuck yourself.
Okay.
Fair.
Okay.
Sorry.
What would you say to a Trump supporter?
So, your Mexican family? Where is he now?
That was a stupid comment. It was weird that she said Mexican. Most of the people that are being deported aren't from Mexico. Most of the people who've come here recently aren't from Mexico because they were asylum seekers, and you can't get asylum from Mexico. So let's just point out the obvious here, that this was a pretty uninformed, stupid comment to say like, hey, where are your Mexican friends? I think that was really stupid, and I would say at the very least an uninformed comment. So let's find some common ground with our Trump supporters here. But here's the attempted gotcha.
Where's your Mexican family?
All right, go ahead and say it to him.
Fuck you. I don't care.
Thank you very much.
Oh, yeah? Well, here's someone who is Latino. Say that to him. Okay, fuck you. Didn't go well. I just appreciate it. Leaving out the fact that she just told this dude to fuck off, I just want to point out that this girl's entire career is going and finding people, confronting them, trying to get them to say something racist, and then bringing out somebody that they have tokenized to be like, gotcha. I do appreciate that this girl was still like, yeah, fuck you.
Yeah, fuck you.
Thank you.
What about me? Is that directed at me too?
Do you want to be fucked too? Because fuck you
Not
too.
by you.
Fuck you too.
No,
Fuck you
I'm
talking
good.
about with your dumb ass. Trump don't even like you or your kind. Fuck what we talk about. And bitch, don't.
He's out. He's
Yeah,
out.
fuck y'all. Fuck you.
Okay, have a good Tuesday.
And if I catch you, I'll be
You're right.
All right. I just want to point that out, that Joel Patrick got replaced. Also, all of that was fucking stupid. That the girl saying like generalizing everybody as Mexican was stupid. The gotcha was stupid. The fuck you was kind of funny though. I appreciated that. Kirk County officials, we've had this flooding down in Texas, and we mentioned this last week, but somebody's clipped it together. I think this has now clipped together the quotes that we were talking about. Kirk County officials in 2021 received $10.2 million, and that $10.2 million was meant, I think that came from the infrastructure. And because it came from Joe Biden and because they don't know what communism is, they decided to reject it. Here's a bunch of quotes from city council members and county officials talking about why they can't take this money from Joe Biden, which could have helped them be more prepared for the flooding that happened in Kirk County. Something's going on with my mic? Give me a thumbs up if the mic's better now. Sorry about that. Not better? Jen, is it still glitching? God damn, this has been a bad computer day today. Better? Better? Okay, cool. Sorry about that. Thank you.
We do not want more of Biden's
You sound fine. I'm not hearing it.
Biden's
Okay. They all say it's good now.
money.
But these people are communists. They
Hold
hate
on.
America.
Not loud enough.
They're teaching it in our schools. They're invading the border.
More of Biden's mandates attached to keeping Biden's money.
But these people are communists. They hate America. They're teaching it in our schools. They're invading the border as we speak. I don't think we should take any money from the federal government because they can't be trusted.
Now, we don't need these funds here. We've done just fine. And we'll get by without them. But you spend this money, you're signing a contract with the devil, and the devil's in the White House.
If you vote to keep Biden's money, I will hold you personally responsible and personally liable.
The Biden regime has proven to be tyrannical and anti-American. There is no part of this administration that has the good of America or Americans at heart. We want no part in anything coming down from the federal government. This is Texas, and Texans can take care of Texas.
And I don't believe we should take the money. We should not have it. I don't trust our federal government. I don't think that they're truthful with us. And in these days and these times or whatever, we can't afford to make a mistake.
It's just
it's
incredibly embarrassing how much these people like to call Joe Biden a fucking communist is crazy. Joe Biden is just like a neocon. Joe Biden is right down the middle, like capitalist as you get. He's not a communist. I think that's absolutely fucking wild. But to have these people are so wrapped up in Donald Trump and so wrapped up in the lies and the hysteria that they wanted to reject money, and I think they wound up taking that money and giving it to the police. They didn't do anything to fix their infrastructure. Why? Because Joe Biden is a communist. That's the whole reason. They could have been more prepared. They could have spent wisely, but we're not going to do that because Joe Biden bad. I also want to show this. A bunch of Democrats went to tour Alligator Alcatraz. I saw clips from Debbie Wasserman Schultz. Obviously, here from Maxwell Frost. I always want to say Chase. I had a friend named Chase Frost. I always want to say Chase Frost. But listen to him to explain the conditions at Alligator Alcatraz.
They opened the door. There was about 6 security guards standing there, kind of pushing us back, but we could see in and we could hear everybody. And when those doors opened, what I saw made my heart sink. I saw 32 people per cage, about 6 cages in the one tent. I saw a lot of people, young men who looked like me and people who were my age. People were yelling, "Help me, help me." I heard in the back someone say, "I'm a U.S. citizen." And as we were walking away, they started chanting, "Libertad, libertad, libertad, freedom." And looking into these cages, you could see, of course, it was warm and hot within the tent. People were sweating. Some people had taken off the top of their clothing because it was just so hot. Some of them were drenched in sweat. The food we saw is not enough food.
Whoever's saying that Alcatraz is better than most prisons, apparently not. Apparently, it's substantially worse.
They're being fed essentially a small sandwich and a bag of chips. And not just that, but the conditions outside, of course, it's blazing hot. And the fact that into the cage comes from the toilet.
This shit. Try something. Might be my headphones. See, I don't know why it's cutting out so much today.
One, not everyone's going to be able to drink as much water as they'd like to because of that inconvenience, but also it's gross and it's disgusting. And this is where people are being held.
Look at the cope of the seethe from the Republicans here. Yeah, you shouldn't have done the crime. Yeah, that's true. If you do a crime, you should totally be able to be treated inhumanely. You should stack people on top of each other. You should force like 6 people into a cage and all shit in front of each other. Yeah, you should definitely do that because you committed a misdemeanor of overstaying a visa or crossing the border illegally. That for sure. For sure, these are the people we should treat inhumanely. Are those who just wanted to stay here and work. That's good. That's about what we expect out of MAGA. I wanted to show you this too. Kristi Noem was questioned last week. We showed the clip and we said that we would get back to you because we thought we'd have more information on Monday. But there was an accusation that came out Friday at the end of our show about Kristi Noem apparently waiting 3 days to authorize some of the responses in Texas. One of the things that was reported later on Friday is that the phone lines for FEMA were crashing and that almost nobody could get through. Turns out now, 15,323 calls went unanswered. That's 15% of the calls that came through. And the claim is that the reason that these calls were going unanswered is because Kristi Noem forced FEMA to get personal approval for any expense over $100,000, and she's been really busy going out being cosplay Barbie. And so when the contracts expired on July 5th, nobody was authorized to renew them, and she didn't get to them. So by July 7th, FEMA was fielding over 16,000 calls a day and answering 16%. Here is her being confronted on Meet the Press about this.
A moment, but the New York Times is reporting that thousands of calls from flood victims to FEMA call centers went unanswered in the middle of this ongoing disaster because you didn't renew contracts to keep call center staff in place until nearly 1 week after the floods. Why did it take so long to extend those contracts?
It's just false. Those contracts were in place. Nobody,
it didn't take 5 days?
No employees were off of work. Every one of them was answering calls. So false reporting, fake news, and it's discouraging. It's discouraging that during this time when we have such a loss of life. And
why is she so comfortable lying right to your fucking face? She either didn't know and she's incompetent, or she's lying. But now we have the data on it. Turns out that was true. Wasn't me said, Reese told Trump you can leave. Yeah. He did say that. He did say you could read. And just a reminder, we are crowdfunded. So as we see if we can finish off that gift goal in the last hour, I've got a lot of stuff to get through, so I'll be kind of rapid fire, but I'll try and read them as they come in.
so many people's lives have turned upside down that people are playing politics with this because the response time was immediate. And if you talk to anyone in Texas that was there, that was a part of this operation, they would say the federal government and President Trump immediately responded.
Just to be very clear, on July 7th, 15.9% of calls were answered. I mean, does that concern you that only 15% of calls were answered? These are people in a desperate state. FEMA, often the first call that they make, only 15% were answered on July 7th, several days after the floods.
These contracts were in place and those people were in those call centers and they were picking up the phone and answering these calls from these individuals. So that report needs to be validified. I'm not certain it's accurate, and I'm not sure where it came from. And the individuals who are giving you information out of FEMA, I'd love to have them put their names behind it, because the anonymous attacks to politicize this situation is completely wrong. I care.
She's not going to debunk any of those numbers. Now, this comes from a New York Times, I don't know if investigation piece. And they're citing multiple DHS sources on these numbers. So they have the total numbers that are called. They have the total number of answered calls. And these are the sources they're getting from DHS are saying 16%. Now, obviously, Kristi Noem is just going to be very upset at DHS. She's not, or at the leaks. She's not going to address the fact that for some reason they weren't answering calls. And by the way, you can see this. Like, there were complaints all over the internet. There were people tweeting Facebook posts like, I can't get through to FEMA. I've been on the phone for 3 hours. I was on the phone, then I got hung up on. Like, it's not like there was nothing to this story. And there are currently FOIA requests going to get records of these call logs. I don't know if they've got them yet or not. I don't know what New York Times has their hands on, but this has been confirmed by multiple sources, which is generally, like, think of a time in recent history where there were multiple sources on something and it didn't happen to be true on data like this, and it wasn't true. These almost always turn out to be true.
These emergencies need to be conducted exactly how President Trump handled this one. It was that the local responders are the ones who execute the response. The state comes in and manages it, and then the federal government comes in and supports it. And as soon as Texas asked for anything, we were there.
All right. I want to jump down to the big news this weekend. Lindsey Graham, this is number 12, Kim. I'm going to skip a couple here. Lindsey Graham went on TV yesterday. I think this was Face the Nation, and he was getting the people fired up for an announcement that came this morning. Here's what Lindsey Graham said to prepare for on the announcement that was coming this morning.
Well, just stay tuned for tomorrow's announcement. The idea of America selling weapons to help Ukraine is very much in play. We've given Ukraine a lot. We've given them money. We've given them military aid. We now have a minerals agreement with Ukraine that's worth trillions of dollars. So I don't want to get ahead of the president, but stay tuned about seized assets. The Europeans want to limit the interest on the assets to go to Ukraine. Secretary Bessent wants to go further. Stay tuned about a plan to go after the seized assets more aggressively. Stay tuned for a plan where America will begin to sell to our European allies tremendous amount of weapons that can benefit Ukraine.
Well, this is quite a flip. This is quite a flip. I spent a lot of years talking to MAGA folks who were very upset that we were selling munitions to Ukraine. I had a debate on Friday night with Andrew. I don't remember if it was Andrew that brought this up or somebody in the panel about the munitions that we're selling to Ukraine. It wasn't very long ago that you guys voted to stop selling munitions to Ukraine. In fact, it wasn't that long ago that Zelensky was in the White House being questioned by that bitch J.D. Vance about why he wasn't thankful enough for the sales. And now all of a sudden we have Lindsey Graham saying, you know what we're going to do? We're going to go after Calicam, you're banned. Ban Calicam. Get rid of Calicam. Thank you. Go fuck yourself, Calicam. We don't do slurs here. Sorry, bud. Finally happened. It just wasn't that long ago that you guys were anti-Ukraine, and now Lindsey Graham setting the stage for we're going to sell munitions to Ukraine. And remember that earlier in the week, Trump was asked, "Hey, you paused a sell of weapons to Ukraine. Why did you do that?" He's like, "I don't know about that." And then he said maybe Pete knows about that, and Pete Hegseth's like, "I don't know about that. Try John Ratcliffe." And then John Ratcliffe's like, "I'm not really going to talk about that." And then the next day, Trump was asked, like, did you ever figure out who paused the sales to Ukraine? He's like, I'm not going to talk about that. That's internal. So one day he doesn't know about it. The next day he knows about it, but he's not going to talk about it. And then Sunday, we got Lindsey Graham up here, and Lindsey Graham is out here now saying, hey, we're selling munitions to Ukraine because Russia bad.
Putin has calculated that we would get tired and Europe would get weary. He made a huge mistake. NATO is bigger and stronger, and we're more committed to ever to make. Listen,
any of you white nationalists that are here that are bitches, and you are absolutely all bitches. You don't get to use slurs here. I'm sorry. You can be dumb. You guys have been dumb for a long time. We don't do slurs in the chat at all. So if you want to get banned, just throw a slur in the chat and you get banned. That's how we do it here. I'm sorry. Not all of us. This isn't your incel heaven over at Raging Tomato. Don't be surprised that we don't run things the same way as Raging Tomato. I'll go over there. I'll have the debate over there. It's not my platform. I'm not going to dictate speech. But here, we don't do slurs, except for when we call you bitches, which is fine. We can call you bitches because we have different rules for us, and you're all bitches.
Make sure he does not take Ukraine by force. So Congress is on the verge of passing the most consequential sanction package in the history of the country. It will give President Trump tools he doesn't have today, a literal sledgehammer. And the big offender here is China, India, and Brazil.
All right, the audio's a little off there. Now let's see the sledgehammer that Donald Trump brought. Here it is. We were all waiting for it on pins and needles. I woke up this morning and thought, ooh, what's Trump going to announce today? I bet he's gonna go hard on Russia. You just wait. Just wait till Trump unloads on Russia. They're not going to know what hit him.
And one of the reasons that you're here today is to hear that we are very unhappy, I am, with Russia. But
he's not happy, guys. That's part of the big announcement, is he's not happy with Russia.
We'll discuss that.
What a fucking take, huh? You know, I'm not really happy with Russia invading another country and murdering innocent people. I'm not very happy with that. Oh, what a stance.
Maybe a different day, but we're very, very unhappy with them, and we're going to be doing very severe tariffs if we don't have a deal in 50 days. Tariffs at about 100%. You'd call them secondary tariffs.
I'm going to give him 50 days. Trump couldn't even hit him with 2 weeks. He couldn't even hit him with the 2 weeks. It's just I'm getting 50 days, and then I might put tariffs on you. Probably not though, because I'm just a bitch, and I'm so afraid of Vladimir Putin. I'm not gonna do any of this. So I'm not even gonna do 2 weeks. I'm gonna give 50 fucking days for Vladimir Putin to get his act together, and if not, I'm gonna tax Americans. Nobody gives a fuck. When's he gonna learn that nobody gives a fuck? when you slap tariffs on them. They don't care. They're just like, all right, cool. Like, all they have to do, if I'm Russia, if I'm Vladimir Putin, and I watch the amount of support that Donald Trump has now, and I watch how quickly that support is eroding, especially on the heels of the Epstein stuff, I'm going, I'll wait it out. Because these tariffs are going to hit Americans. This is a tax on American citizens. This is a tax on goods. This causes whatever you're getting from Russia. I don't know their big imports. I know there's vodka. Whatever imports we're getting from Russia currently, if they're more expensive, all Russia has to do is just wait out this bitch. And Trump's not going to put the tariffs on Russia either. He's just not going to do it. He never does. He never winds up following through. But 50 days. This is what Lindsey Graham had our dicks hard for. Wait till tomorrow. You're not going to believe what Trump does. We believe it. We believe it. And it sounds like another taco trade to me. Sounds like Donald Trump threatening something that he's just not going to do again.
You know what that means. But today we're going to talk about...
Rory said, fuck Cali Cam. Agreed. Fuck Cali Cam.
Something else. And as you know, we've spent $350 billion approximately on this war with Russia and Ukraine. And would like to see it end. It wasn't my war. It was Biden's war.
Yeah, it was Putin's war. Is whose war it really was. Putin invaded another country. Joe Biden did not invade another country. This is Putin's war, but Donald Trump is kind of a cuck to Putin, and he's still butthurt about losing to Biden. He's never going to let that go.
It's not my war. I'm trying to get you out of it. And we want to see it end. And I'm disappointed in President Putin because I thought we would have had a deal 2 months ago, but it doesn't seem to get there. So based on that, we're going to be doing secondary tariffs if we don't have a deal in 50 days. It's very simple. And they'll be at 100%. And that's the way it is. That can be more simple. It's just the way it is. I hope we don't have to do it.
Yeah, you probably won't do it. At the end of 50 days, he'll be like, I'm going to give him 2 weeks. And then it'll be like, I'm going to give him 2 weeks again. Here's Trump now being asked about the change of tone all last week when, again, there was a pause in the delivery of weaponry sent to Ukraine. And apparently what they came out with later is that was to evaluate the U.S. stockpiles. And this reporter just asked, like, what came out of that? What is the answer? Now, I know that one day you said you didn't know anything about it. The next day you said you knew everything about it, but you weren't going to discuss it. And then like 2 days later, you guys explained that this was about evaluating the U.S. stockpiles. Now that you guys have figured out your story after 3 times, could you please tell us what came out of that?
Mr. President, is there any concern about the U.S. stockpiles? There was a pause in delivery of weaponry to Ukraine in order to evaluate, apparently, the U.S. stockpiles. What came out of that?
Evaluation. I mean, this was a very big, what we're talking about today is a very, very big day. And what Pete was doing, and me too, I knew what Pete was doing.
I knew what Pete was doing. They asked him. They're like, what about this? And he looked at Pete and he goes, do you want to talk about that? And Pete went, ask John about it. And so he asked John. He didn't know. Yeah, now this is just his ego. Now he knows that he got trolled all over the internet and all over the news. And he watches the news and he reads everything on the internet because he's just like an insufferable little internet bitch. And so now he's like, I knew the whole time. I just want to put it out there that I did know the whole time I was doing 7D chess.
Was evaluation because we knew this was going to happen. And now we actually announced it. They voted on it. It's all been done. So obviously that has a big impact on, when you say pause, obviously you're not going to be doing things if you don't know what's going to happen here. But we were pretty sure this was going to happen, so we did a little bit of a pause. But this is a very big event today. This is something very...
And again, this thing that they were pretty sure was going to happen was that they were going to sell weapons to Ukraine, which I thought you guys were against. I've been supportive. I actually have no problem with folks here with this administration selling weapons to Ukraine. I think that's a great thing. I think that we'll make some money out of that. I think Ukraine needs it. I think they were invaded by Russia. But I'm old enough to remember pre-November and actually pre-January when it was you guys talking to us about this incessantly. Like, why are we selling weapons to Ukraine? Why are we even involved in this? No new wars. We got to get out of these. Trump's going to end it on day one. So all this stuff that you were beating us over the head with, repeat, like now they're doing it. Are you going to change your opinion, or are you going to go after Trump? I think most of you are going to change your opinion. And by the way, welcome. Welcome to the right answer. See how this works? See how I'm not just going to flip my opinion and now say Trump is wrong? No, he's right here. This is the right thing to do. This was always the right thing to do. It was the right thing to do when we were defending it, when Biden did it, and it's the right thing to do now. But you guys were told, because Biden was in office and you had to go after everything he said, you were told that it wasn't the right thing then. And when Trump went on stage all throughout the whole country and talked about how we were selling arms to Ukraine, and we didn't need to do that because he could just end the war on day one, and it was so simple, he'd be able to end this. Here we are, 6 months in. He's still selling weapons to Ukraine. In fact, now he's announcing new sales of weapons to Ukraine, and he's giving Putin an extra 50 days. Not only is he not able to end it, he can't seem to even like slow it down. So now he's like, I guess we got to arm Ukraine. I guess we got to blow up. Maybe he's finding out what Joe Biden found out. That there was no negotiating with Vladimir Putin. That Putin was going to do what he wanted anyway. So maybe the best strategy was to arm Ukraine and let Ukraine wipe out Russia and send them crawling back. I don't know. Seems like they're coming to the same conclusion, but you guys don't seem as upset about this. You only seemed upset about it before Trump was in office. Now it's a good thing, which I agree. This is a good thing. I'm glad we're selling weapons to Ukraine. Good move by the Trump administration. Look at me. Look at my bipartisanship here. Well done, Trump administration. He also sent out, if you remember on Friday before we left, Trump was announcing these 50% tariffs on Brazil. Why? Is it because Brazil has been mistreating us? No. Is it because we have a trade imbalance with Brazil? No. We had a trade surplus with Brazil. Why did we do it? Because Trump's friend lost the election, and then he tried to overthrow the government, and the government said, fuck you, we're going to charge you, and Trump got really mad. So Trump slapped tariffs on Brazil for his friend. So he's taxing you, Americans, everybody here. He's decided to tax all of us on anything we buy from Brazil, which a lot of coffee, I know a significant amount of meat. Now that's going to be more expensive because Brazil's government, which is a different country than ours, their government and their people have decided to hold a trial for somebody who tried to overthrow the government, who is Trump's friend. And Trump thinks that that's a good enough reason to increase your taxes. He wants you to pay more for coffee and beef because his friend is being investigated. That's the level we're at. So Kevin Hassett now has to go, because Trump's too fucking stupid to explain any of this stuff, and he would fail miserably. This is one of the smartest people in the Trump administration, Kevin Hassett, whose job now is to go out on ABC News on Sunday morning and defend Trump just putting tariffs on Brazil for no fucking reason. And this goes about as well as you would expect anybody to defend the indefensible position of slapping tariffs on Brazilian goods.
Data. Well, as you know, a lot of economists say that the inflation will be coming.
Oh, sorry, real quick. Amy said also Crimea was under Trump, which is really where it started. I think Crimea was under Biden, actually. I think that was 2014. So that was under Biden. But Crimea was happening under Trump. I think it just started under Biden or Obama. Did I say Biden? I meant Obama. And then also maybe Trump should have listened to Zelensky in the Oval Office. Zelensky was 100% correct. Absolutely, Amy Lynn. 100% correct.
There were certainly a lot of imports that were brought in the anticipation that tariffs would be placed. But let me ask you about one new set of tariffs that he announced on Brazil. 50% new tariff on Brazil. Brazil had a $6.8 billion surplus last year. In fact, the U.S. hasn't had a trade deficit with Brazil since 2007. I mean, almost 2 decades. So why are we putting a punishing 50% tariff on Brazil?
Well, bottom line is the president has been very frustrated with negotiations with Brazil and also with the actions of Brazil. In the end, though, we're trying to put America first. I think that a lot of people, when I'm talking to negotiators from other countries, at some point they'll say, what did we do wrong? And what I'm trying to get, the message we're all trying to get across is this is about America getting itself ready for the golden age by getting our house in order, by getting our tariff and trade policy and tax policy exactly where it needs to be for a golden age. And normally it's not necessarily about a specific country, but with Brazil it is. Their actions have shocked the president at times, and he's made them clear about that.
Yeah, they shocked him by holding people accountable for trying to overthrow their government. And that's why we're slapping tariffs on Brazil. That's why your prices are going to go up from anything in Brazil. Zero evidence or zero defense. By the way, somebody said tariffs haven't caused prices to rise. Yes, they have. Tariffs have gone up, have raised food prices roughly 2.8%, and fresh produce is up 4%. So it has caused prices to rise. The thing that we have going for us in this country when it comes to overall inflation is there have been some deflationary actions, specifically the stabilization of the housing market that have caused inflation to slow and to level off. But we do food is getting more expensive. Overall inflation, keep in mind, inflation is we still have inflation. I think it's 2.5%. It's not zero inflation. We still have month over month prices are rising, but it's steady and it's in a manageable state. But to say that tariffs aren't causing food prices to go up would be silly.
I don't understand how you're saying it's about America, because the president has made it quite clear that what he's upset about is how the Brazilian Supreme Court has handled the criminal case involving former President Bolsonaro.
I'm agreeing with you. What I'm saying is that what I've been saying with most countries was that it's really about us getting the tariffs.
If we caught that, he's agreeing. Donald Trump is raising taxes on American citizens because he doesn't like how Brazil is handling their politics or their law. It has zero effect on us. Bolsonaro being president doesn't help you at all. Brazil prosecuting Bolsonaro doesn't affect you at all. But Trump is so upset at his friend being prosecuted that he's willing to tax you guys more money. You are paying for Trump's feelings at this point. This is literally a tax on Trump's feelings. If Trump is unhappy, you pay more in taxes. That's the reality that we live in now.
Tariffs in order, and I think that this tariff for Brazil is a lot higher because of the president's frustration with Bolsonaro, and the fact that Bolsonaro himself, anyway.
But can you explain to me, because I find it confusing here, on what authority does the president have to impose tariffs on a country because he doesn't like what that country's judicial system is handling a specific case?
Well,
I mean, how
if
is
he
that?
thinks it's a national defense emergency, or if he thinks it's a national security threat, that he has the authority under IEPA.
So how is it a national security threat that, how Brazil is handling a criminal case against its former president?
Well, that's not the only thing. That's not the only thing. I mean,
so what is it? I mean, I've asked what it is. I mean,
what's the other thing then? What's the other part of Brazil here? They have a trade. We have a trade surplus, which Trump has been using trade deficits as his excuse all along to levy tariffs, which was stupid on its face anyways. But even in this case, we have a trade surplus, and then he's already admitted that this is mostly about Trump's feelings. Imagine being a MAGA person today in the chat, guys, this is totally normal. I don't know why you're complaining about tariffs on goods because of Trump's feelings. This is what we should do.
Seems that that's what President Trump's talking about. He's talking about his anger and his frustration. He's been quite candid about it with the Bolsonaro case.
Right. Well, the bottom line is that what we're doing absolutely collectively across every country is we're onshoring production in the U.S. to reduce the national emergency that is that we have a massive trade.
I'm sorry. Are we onshoring coffee production? These tariffs that we slapped on Brazil, are we onshoring coffee production now? I must have missed that. Did I miss an announcement of coffee producers moving to the United States and onshoring the production here? Did I miss that? Maybe I missed that story.
Deficit that's putting it at risk should we need production in the U.S. because of a national security crisis. And this is part of an overall strategy to do that.
But again, as we've just established, we have a trade surplus with Brazil, not a deficit. And we've had a surplus with Brazil for 18 years.
There's no I pity him. I pity having to go on TV and defend what Donald Trump is doing but this one is so petty. It's beyond understanding. I really don't get how you guys are defending this. I know that there's a lot of things sometimes that we have a difference of opinion. This one's silly. He's raising prices on goods because his friend is being prosecuted, and we're just like, yay, this is great. That same president, and I know this is one of my friends told me this weekend that like sending this type of shit to MAGA doesn't matter because they're going to think it's dope. But Trump tweeted out as he's trying to deflect the blame of all of his decisions, he truthed out, because of the fact that Rosie O'Donnell is not in the best interest of our great country, I'm giving serious consideration to taking away her citizenship. To be honest, I couldn't get on True Social this morning. I hope this is fake. I saw a lot of people retweeting it. I saw this from a Republican defending it. So I really hope this is fake. Somebody check me. But if it's not, this is just a pissed off senior citizen rage tweeting in the middle of the night for something he can't even do. Like, you can't just take somebody's citizenship away. He can't just take Rosie O'Donnell's citizenship away. And he should know that. And he probably knows that. But even if he does know that, why the fuck is the president of our country tweeting about Rosie O'Donnell and saying she's a threat to humanity and should remain in the wonderful country of Ireland if they want her? God bless America. That's what our president was taking time doing this weekend, is rage tweeting at Rosie O'Donnell. He's trying to distract from Epstein, anything he can, and it's not working. It's getting worse. I also want to point this out. We've been on this from the start. We were on this before the election. If you watched when I went on Jubilee, you know that I talked about this. There was an obvious coordinated attempt from the richest people in our country to go after the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau and not have to pay back the fines for taking advantage of American citizens. We now have this. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau is announcing today that it will not prioritize enforcement actions taken on the basis of the Truth in Lending regulation, use of digital user accounts to access buy now, pay later loans. The Bureau takes this step in the interest of focusing resources on supporting hardworking American taxpayers, servicemen, veterans, and small businesses. The Bureau is further contemplating taking appropriate action to rescind buy now, pay later. What this essentially means, if we can go through it, Navy Federal Credit Union was going to have to pay out $80 million to members of our military for illegally charging them overdraft fees. This ruling was against them. They were going to have to pay that back. Again, just people who sacrificed their life to serve our country. And this administration has decided, yeah, fuck it. Oh, fuck it. Let's just let the credit union keep their money and fuck our servicemen and women. They don't need that $80 million back. Pretty cool, huh? Let me check comments real quick. Perfect. I got those. All right. What do we got left? An hour? No, 40 minutes. 40 minutes left. Maybe 50 minutes. 50 minutes left to see if we can knock out that goal. I appreciate you guys' support. I know there hasn't been a lot to discuss today because we went over that debate. But if you could help us knock out that goal, that would be great. And then just a reminder, this Thursday, I'll be back on Raging Tomato. It'll be an open panel, me versus the panel. However, Sarah has told me that she will make sure that it's one at a time, so we're not just like screaming over each other. If you want to watch that with us, make sure you're a paid subscriber either on YouTube, Twitch, or TikTok, and we can direct you to the place where we'll watch that together. Then you don't have to hang out in the white nationalist incel group chat. You can just watch it with like-minded people. So make sure that you're subscribed if you want to watch that on Thursday, and most of our debates now we'll handle that way. Let's go. I want to go back to this. We had CPAC this weekend, or I guess it was like Turning Point USA's version of CPAC. I can't really figure out exactly what it is. But Dave Smith, the libertarian comedian Dave Smith, was there, and he was in a debate versus, I forget this guy's name. Do we have the name? I don't remember the other guy's name. But Charlie Kirk was moderating this debate. Here is Dave Smith talking about he's turning on this administration, and the reason he's turning on this administration is because of the scapegoating, because of how they're trying to scare you about Muslims, they're trying to scare you about Palestinians, they're trying to scare you about socialism, they're trying to scare you about all these things. And the reality is, what they're doing is they're supporting a genocide. So here was Dave Smith on the side of ending the war in Gaza. And I just don't remember this guy's name, who obviously thinks this is a great idea that we slaughter innocent men, women, and children over in Gaza.
Being honest with yourselves, and I do think we should really think about the threats that we really do face here at home. And I'm talking about the Democrats coming back into power. And forget all these made-up threats about other countries that really can't mess with us at all. I don't know if you guys have noticed, and you could say it's a very online debate all you want to. This hasn't been a good month for Donald Trump. His base is really kind of turning on each other, and these are major issues that are dividing his coalition. And this is J.D. Vance winning in a few years is not a given. You know, like, the Democrats are going to come back and offer someone.
Especially not after we saw J.D. Vance run at full speed this weekend. I think it's going to be tough to vote for a man of J.D. Vance's age who has no excuse to not be able to run like a normal human being, and yet he can't. Josh Hammer's his name, the other guy. Thank you.
And if we want to have a chance to keep progress going and to get our country in a better place, what we have to do is reject empire and return to being a republic that we were supposed to be. The United States of America was never supposed to be an empire. We were supposed to be a republic, a constitutional republic, a city on a hill that the world could learn from our example, because we do liberty so much better than anybody else does. And we've gotten so far away from that over the years. And like I mentioned at the beginning, look, this is the big point. We're going broke. We can't afford to do this anymore. It shouldn't even be a question of whether we should be giving Israel money or whether we should be giving Ukraine money, as Donald Trump's also decided to do this year. We don't have it. This is like me taking out money on a credit card to lend to my friends so I can act like I'm the big shot who's lending them money. We are destroying our own young people. You, not me. I'm not a young person. I'm fine. I'm in my 40s and I make good money. Your whole generation is getting screwed over by this, because we have to devalue our currency in order to keep up with the demands for this spending that we cannot afford.
One of the things that I'll continuously say is that libertarians are on the left, and we should treat libertarians on the left, and libertarians should be embraced by the left. These viewpoints, libertarian viewpoints, are very pro-freedom. And you can take libertarian viewpoints and you can remove the capitalism from those viewpoints. Libertarianism is about freedom. It's about freedom of movement. So, a strict libertarian would be pretty open borders, right? They would have it would be easier to immigrate places. The barriers to entry for business would be eased. So the same stuff that we complain about, the over monopolization of certain industries like groceries, the over monopolization in agriculture, the over-monopolization in social media, in news, in finance. Those things are very anti-libertarian. And I think that the libertarians siding with the right is like this misunderstanding of the political spectrum, where for a long time, libertarians were considered like the far right, but they're not. The far right is like the authoritarian right, the Andrew Wilson right. Libertarians, you had a libertarian breakoff from the Marxists. The libertarian socialism was a break from Marx due to their belief that Marx was sympathetic to a more authoritarian regime. So that's where you get like the breakoff of libertarian socialism. But there's a reason that Dave Smith and Chase Oliver sound a lot like we sound like right now. It's because what they're actually against are a lot of the same things that we are against. And the stuff that keeps them from joining with us are actually people like Joe Biden and Joe Manchin and Richie Torres and Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi, where what they recognize, and correctly, is that there's not a big difference economically between Chuck Schumer and Lindsey Graham, or Chuck Schumer and Mike Johnson. There's not actually a big difference. There's a few social issues which libertarians don't really believe that social issues are something that the government should be in lockstep with. So you find the libertarians in a really weird position where they seem to line up with the right, but if their views don't, their views are actually further left. Like Dave Smith is far closer to Zoran Mamdani than he would be Donald Trump. Zoran Mamdani is talking about using socialism as a real like market solution for food deserts. Dave Smith would agree with that. Dave Smith would agree that the reason that we have food deserts is because of the over-monopolization of the grocery industry. And Dave Smith would have to be forced to recognize that because of that over-monopolization, there are food deserts, and then the market is not going to take care of those food deserts while these monopolies exist. So unless you can get rid of the monopoly, the next best choice is government-run grocery stores. Because the market, the free market, capitalism, will not fill that role. I think that we have a really good opportunity to take people like Dave Smith and welcome them in to have these discussions. I do think that most of you will find that when you get a real libertarian, the Justin Amash's, Chase Oliver's, Dave Smith, that you're going to have a lot more in common with them than you are with like an establishment Democrat. Than you're going to have with any of these folks that I mentioned earlier. Dave Smith is far closer to my beliefs than Hakeem Jeffries. Dave Smith and my beliefs are very, very similar, and there's like slight divergences. But I do think that the far left, the more radical parts of the party, should be far more open to embracing libertarian beliefs and libertarian people, and that we should be inviting these people in for discussions, because I really do think that these folks are going to be, one, they're going to align with us more, but I don't really fear Dave Smith. Dave Smith doesn't make me nervous. Dave Smith might have social views that I don't agree with, but Dave's political views are also that the government should have no role in that, so I don't really fucking care what his social beliefs are, because he doesn't believe that the government should regulate that, so I'm good with that. I can deal with people who have different social beliefs than I do, as long as they don't think that the government should be regulating those social beliefs. And I think that we can see that there is a not insignificant portion of this audience that Charlie Kirk speaks to that paid money to come see this speech, that paid money to see this debate, who are clapping along with Dave Smith. There's an opportunity there. This is a place where, like, I think Unfuck America maybe thought they were going to go, and I don't think that they're doing very well, and mostly because they pick the wrong people. With all due respect to Destiny, who's a good debater and who is pretty closely aligned with Dave Smith, and I would say that Destiny and I like have similar debates. He's also a predator, right? Like, don't put up somebody who's a predator. Don't put up somebody to go out there and speak to people who anybody's going to be able to smear. There's something that Unfuck America has identified, and for whatever reason, their ability to capitalize on it has been a fucking nightmare. Because first they went with Dean and Parker, and whatever you want to say about those guys, it is a fair criticism of Dean, and I'll just use Dean specifically. It is a fair criticism to say that Dean's entire online life seems to be getting attention and making money for attention. And he finds himself in controversy a lot because, one, he's a young kid, but two, based on the stories I hear that come out of Unfuck America and the things that I've heard from him, like I think that there's that this seems to have more to do with like fame and monetary value than it does like actual activism. But there is something there, and I don't know, maybe it needs to be a more organic approach towards inviting libertarians in. But Dave Smith should be with us. Dave Smith shouldn't be over there. And the more we embrace like these standard bearers and these people that just like show up every day and deep throat the DNC, it's not going to work. Like it's not going to work to just like deep throat Harry Sisson. It's not going to work with Chris Mowry. It's not. None of this stuff works when we're talking about like courting new people, because at the end of the day, their bread is buttered with the establishment, and the establishment is what is driving people like Dave Smith away. So I would love to see organizations like this, big debate stages like this on the left. I would love to see them including like Chase Oliver, Dave Smith, Justin Amash, those types of people.
And so the answer is that we need to pull back. We need to focus on America. That's what America First is supposed to be about. Sound money, fiscal sanity, and true liberty, true free market capitalism. Not a government that spends $7 trillion a year and a crazy casino system on Wall Street with these incredibly low interest rates where people are making tens of millions of dollars off just, speculating on nonsense. And this is it's the warfare state that drives it. Look, guys, we have spent $20 trillion.
Austrian here, I can answer why we don't have an event like this. And the answer is funding. And when you think about it, just logistically, like think about the funding. Who's going to fund to pay lefties? Tanya said, happy Monday. Thank you. Amy Lynn said, that's why they say the further left you go, you get your guns back. Facts. I think it really does boil down to funding. If I had this size of show on the right, like I could get funding. Because there's always going to be people with deep pockets who want you to advocate for less government regulation for them. There's not really a financial incentive for the richest people in this country to side with the left, at least not like my type of left, at least not the left with any sort of like ideals. The only people that they want to fund on the left are the people like Hakeem Jeffries and Richie Torres, who just basically do nothing and say nothing. They stand in opposition when they need to, and when it's time for them to legislate, it's just your run of the mill business first legislation. It's really easy for a Ben Shapiro to find funding. It's really easy. Like, I mean, Steven Crowder got millions and millions of dollars in funding. He was operating at a net loss. Tim Pool, has gotten millions of dollars. And Tim Pool's like, if the one criticism I think that most everybody believes with Tim Pool, if you're not a Tim Pool fan, whether you're right or left, Tim Pool's just like a fence sitter. He just rides the fence. He doesn't want to shake the boat. He just rides that fence, and he gets a lot of corporate funding. This is a heavily corporate funded event by Turning Point USA. They're somehow a nonprofit, but they get massive corporate donations and sponsors. Anything like this on the left is gonna have to be crowdfunded. It's gonna be a little more difficult to fund something like this on the left because anybody with money that isn't gonna fund this. Anybody with lots of money to throw away, they're probably not gonna fund something like this.
Since the collapse of the Soviet Union. The war in Iraq and Afghanistan are over, and we're looking at our biggest defense budget ever. This is madness, and it will be the death of our country. No Islamist is going to take down our country, but drowning in debt and empire will. That's how great nations fall. And the young Republicans need to reject that. A republic, not an empire, like the great Pat Buchanan said.
I thought that was so good with Dave. Like, no notes from Dave Smith. And that's, again, I could get up there and make that same argument. That's an argument that people like me, that's exactly how we sound. We should embrace that. On the other side, we have Josh Hammer, who this was what did they label? Who put this up? They said Eyal Jacoby. I don't know who that is. Josh Hammer completely eviscerated Dave Smith at TPUSA. That's what they had to say. Let's see Josh Hammer's version of why this administration is good and why people should be so happy with this administration.
Good news is that while no one should be afraid of debate, and this debate is a nice thing here, the MAGA movement is actually quite unified. Believe it or not, all the talk to the contrary when it comes to these issues. An overwhelming majority of self-identified MAGA Republicans support close U.S.-Israel relations. According to a CBS News poll, moreover...
Jessica says, fuck Andrew Wilson. Amen.
After the recent Operation Midnight Hammer B-2 bombers in Iran, 94% of self-identified MAGA Republicans supported President Trump's dropping those B-2 bombs on four donors.
Yeah, but who are those people? See how shady this was? 94% of self-identified MAGA Republicans. I don't think most of the Republicans I talk to would identify as MAGA Republicans. I think most of the Republicans here wouldn't identify as MAGA Republicans. They would say, like, I support things Trump does, or I'm not a Republican, or I'm not MAGA, I'm independent, I just vote. This is a small group of people that can self-identify as MAGA Republicans. Adam said, I think libertarians are associated with the right because they are pro-small government. Unfortunately, Republicans are no longer small government. They're authoritarian. They've shifted so far from original ideals that they'd be unrecognizable to their founders. I agree.
And the other Iranian facilities there. This is a wildly popular policy there.
I heard that too, Austrian hero, that they were booing him. You can hear people booing this dude. Like, and somebody else said it was 2-on-1 because Charlie's also funded by Israel. That's correct. Them saying that this guy walked off, like, he gets booed plenty.
What did Dave Smith say about this? He re-upped his now years-long crusade to call for Donald Trump's impeachment. Y'all probably don't know that about Dave Smith, do you? He's now called for Donald Trump to be impeached multiple times. But Dave, look.
Yeah. Again, he kind of sounds like us, doesn't he? Kind of sounds like us. It kind of seems like that everybody who's not a MAGA Republican can see through this. Everybody else can see that Donald Trump is entirely corrupt. But now this is what they do. I saw this yesterday. I saw something sick yesterday. And I won't name names, but a group of people who have been on the same side, who vote the same way. And one person simply just said, look, I think that this is a little unhinged by Donald Trump at this point. I think our party is just a little unhinged at this point. And the amount of anger that came from the other MAGA just for the audacity of saying that Donald Trump, who, again, spent this weekend slapping tariffs on Brazil, threatening Rosie O'Donnell, advocating that ICE now just use whatever force necessary to protect themselves. The audacity, like that was such a wild claim to say that this is unhinged. And I watched them turn on themselves. That's who this is. And I think that this is a losing effort. And we need to hear more from Josh Ham. Is that his name? Hammer? More Josh Hammer.
Look, I mean, I don't like when people misquote me either. You probably don't like when people misquote you. So I actually have a little bit of a highlight reel here of Dave Smith's tweets over the years.
Be prepared to love Dave Smith after this.
Dave Smith, March 19th, 2024. Donald Trump is responsible for around 500,000 deaths in Yemen and between the weapons to Ukraine and the Abraham Accords Jerusalem embassy. He is at least partially responsible for the two worst humanitarian crises in the world. He's a war criminal who should spend his life in prison.
Facts. Based. W. Dave Smith. Yeah. He's been consistent all along, hasn't he? And this guy's like, he said mean things about Donald Trump. You guys should get mad at this. Yeah, where's the lie? Where is it? All that's facts. And if you want to say that same stuff about Joe Biden, that's fine. He probably did say that stuff about Joe Biden. That would have been fair too. He's pretty consistent.
He is calling Donald Trump a war criminal.
Facts.
Who should spend his life in prison.
Facts.
You should be livid at that. I am livid at that as a Trump supporter.
You should be mad that he said mean things about Donald Trump. Guys, get mad at this. I'm telling you. Listen. Is he attacking? Is he misstating any facts? No, he's not. But he did blame Donald Trump, so you should be mad at that. And his audience is probably like, I am mad at that. I don't like it when people say mean things about Donald Trump.
Donald Trump, Dave Smith, June 16, 2025. Trump allegedly had full prior knowledge of Israel's attacks and gave it his blessing while pretending to be negotiating with the Iranians as a cover. If this is true, Trump is the most impotent bitch of a leader imaginable.
Tell me that doesn't sound like me. Tell me that doesn't sound like I wrote that tweet. Tell me it doesn't sound exactly like me. Donald Trump is an impotent bitch. I love that. It made me wiggle a little bit. A little blood flow.
He's calling our president, the greatest president in my lifetime, an impotent bitch.
Yeah, he is an impotent bitch. He is. Yeah, look how bad. Look at this. Be outraged with me. He called him a name. And he said his dick doesn't work. Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of people who say it doesn't. We have firsthand accounts that say it doesn't work. And, I mean, simple. You just watch him. He's definitely a bitch.
Are you kidding me? June 21st, 2025, Donald Trump has now launched an illegal war of aggression against Iran. The risk of an absolute catastrophe is very high, and the benefits are non-existent. Dave Smith, June 21st.
Boom. Boom. Who said that? I don't know how to say it. Surge to destroy it. Is that your burner account? It sounds like it. This sounds like, God, I wish I had the reach of Dave Smith. I wish I was on stage and somebody was reading out all the times that I called Donald Trump a bitch. I would be so happy. I'd be so happy. And that I mentioned that his dick doesn't work. That would make me so happy. Dave Smith should be over here with us.
Dead wrong. This notion that World War III would start, not a single American casualty. We should be celebrating that. Donald Trump fulfilled multiple campaign promises. The escalator speech in 2015 at Trump Tower, he literally said, I'm not going to let Iran get a nuclear weapon. And guess what? He said, I oppose a neoconservative foreign policy.
Yeah, let's talk about Iran. I won't let Iran get a nuclear weapon. At the time when Donald Trump said that, they were enriching uranium up to like 4%. Then Donald Trump went in, removed them from the nuclear agreement, and then they were enriching uranium up to 60%. And then he bombed their facility, and we still don't know the damage there. We still have no idea how much damage that did to Iran. But it is an unequivocal fact that when Donald Trump took office, Iran was further away from making a nuclear weapon than when he left office. And that when he took office the first time, Iran was further away from creating a nuclear weapon than they are right now. So it's not a very good argument.
He did both of those things with Iran. He deprived the Iranian regime of nuclear weapon while not losing a single American sailor, soldier, or Marine while depriving them of nuclear weapons. And finally, Charlie, I'll end on this. Dave Smith, July 8th, 2025. In the last month, Donald Trump has launched a war of aggression on behalf of a foreign government, exploded the debt, announced that he's continuing the Biden policy of arming Ukraine, and covered up a giant child rape operation. So according to my...
Facts. That's so many facts. That's a stack of facts right there. That is a Grand Slam Denny's stack of facts right there. Yeah. Doesn't he sound just like us?
Interlocutor. Donald Trump is not just engaging in wars on behalf of foreign governments, he is also covering up the world's giant pedophilic child sex trafficking ring, allegedly, I presume, on behalf of a foreign government as well. So I'm disgusted, frankly, that this man is on stage, but I'll end it at that.
Okay, well...
His entire argument. The entire argument that he went there, and he's being booed, by the way. You can hear the boos. This isn't working. His entire argument was there. I don't like Dave Smith because Dave Smith says mean things about Donald Trump that most of you agree with, and I am outraged on behalf of Donald Trump. You bitch. You silly, silly little bitch. Why are you outraged on behalf of Donald Trump? He's the president of the United States. He could put on his big boy diaper and take care of himself. But imagine showing up to speak in front of people and you took 3 minutes, all 3 minutes, just to read tweets, just reminding the people that Dave Smith has been right since Trump came into office. Like since day one, he's actually kind of been right, even though he voted for Trump, by the way. But he's been right about Trump's foreign policy from day one and consistent. And you're just mad about that. But luckily for Josh Hammer, I'm not going to end on Josh Hammer. I'm going to end on an even worse shit talker. Because old Marble Mouth got up on stage. And Marble Mouth did what what you'd expect Marble Mouth to do. He tried to fight somebody in the audience because he's too fucking stupid to have a discussion. So here's Tom Homan, as fully erect as somebody his age can get, talking about deporting immigrants, which is the only thing that makes his dick hard, which is probably why he's not living with his wife anymore. And then somebody shouts out something kind of benign, and Tom Homan's going to try and fight them.
They get sent home. That is not what they wanted. They're playing the long game. Let's release them in the community. Wait 3 or 5 years. Pardon me?
Are you an MS-13 member? It says so.
Hey.
All right, I can't find this. Like, the guy says, are you an MS-13 member? I don't know where he's getting that. Obviously, I mean, you're at a Turning Point USA event, and these people regularly they regularly rely on conspiracy theories. But I looked it up, and I want you to know that there is equal amounts of evidence that Tom Homan is an MS-13 member, that there is that Abrego Garcia was a member of MS-13. And I will show you the evidence. It's right here. Look on his forehead. Do you see it? Right there. It's on his forehead. It says MS-13 right on his forehead. Just like it said MS-13 on Abrego Garcia's knuckles. We got to deport him, guys. Has somebody shown this to Trump? Somebody's got to show him. He has no idea that his own administration, his border czar, has been infiltrated by MS-13. Look at it. We have to do something about this. That the person in the audience they need to be praised. How did we miss this? Somebody's got to tell him. But now Tom Homan is going to get tough.
Hey, that's okay. That's okay. I got a question. No. I got a question for you. Why don't you come up here and hand me that picture? Bring it.
Why don't you come up here and hand me that picture? Because there's stairs. And I can't go up and down stairs, or I won't have any breath left to give this speech. Come up here. Give me that picture. You won't.
Bring it. USA!
He just chants USA and they go with it. This guy's so dumb. Like, give me that picture. I'm going to chant USA. I don't know why you're responding to that guy in the first place, because clearly you are MS-13 and they've covered it up with makeup for this event. Just...
All right. You got morons like this all over the country.
If you missed that, he said, "We got morons like this all over the country." If you missed it.
This guy wouldn't know it's like the surface nation. This guy ain't got the balls to be an ICE officer. He hasn't got the balls.
Yeah, those big tough ICE officers showing up at Home Depot every weekend with masks on and full body armor. Those big tough ICE officers who are breaking into factories and arresting people. Those big tough ICE officers that ran through a park full of children. Oh, you don't have the balls to be an ICE officer. No, he's not a bitch. These ICE officers are bitches, and Tom Homan is a bitch. If these guys were if they had such big balls, then what the fuck are they doing not in dangerous neighborhoods? When are they going to start going after the criminals, the violent criminals? It doesn't take a lot of balls to arrest an old lady who's been here for 30 years. I hate to break it to you. It doesn't take a whole lot of balls to do anything. In fact, these ICE agents are such pussies that they went into LA and people were yelling at them. They got scared, and Tom Homan called Trump and was like, "Donald, can you please send in the National Guard? People are being mean to the ICE agents." So then Trump sent in the National Guard, and then the police in California wound up having to protect the National Guard because the people were like, "Oh, fuck, National Guard's here, we'll yell at them." And the National Guard's like, "Hey, police, will you come protect us? These people are yelling at us." And so the police in California wound up going and standing between the people and the National Guard. Not only was ICE a bunch of bitches, but the National Guard was a bunch of bitches. And we had to call in California PD, LAPD, the Sheriff's Department, to come in and protect ICE and the National Guard. And that's what the police did in California. They protected ICE and the National Guard because they're so tough. There's some big old boys with their big muscles and their big guns and their big deports. They're so tough and so brave.
To be a Border Patrol agent. This guy lives in his mother's basement.
There you go.
The only thing that surprised me, you don't have purple hair and a nose ring. Get out of here, you loser.
Something doesn't surprise me, so you have purple hair and a nose ring. You can't speak. You can't speak. Everybody that works for you is a bitch. And by the way, just for the record, Tom Homan, somebody clip it, send it to him. I will fight you anywhere, any place, anytime. 1v1. I don't even know how to fight. But I know this 70-year-old man doesn't have the cardio. I know however this goes, big fella's going to fall. Big fella doesn't have the cardio. Big fella shouldn't be picking fights because big fella's a big bitch. Big fella's a big dummy. At that age, don't pick fights. You'll lose almost every fight. You don't got the cardio. You don't have the stamina. You probably don't have the balance. So I just want to put it, if anybody wants to set it up, boxing, me versus Tom Homan, I'm in. I mean, there's no way it goes past 1 minute. This dude is not going past a minute with cardio. I don't even think I have to hit him, which is convenient because I don't know how to fight. But I still think I win. I think he just eventually tips over and falls. I'll just move around quickly. Hold still. Hold still. You're probably trained in your mom's basement. Hold still. I'm not going to hold still, Tom.
And you're such a badass. Meet me off stage in 13 minutes and 50 seconds. I guarantee you.
He's trying to fight the fucking audience right now. This is the dumbest. This is the dumbest administration. It's the dumbest political movement on earth. Remember when Biden and Trump started talking about fighting in the debate? They're like, "Oh, whoop your ass!" Like, no, neither one of you is gonna whoop anybody's ass. You're too fucking old for this. Knock it off. You can't be in a fight. It's not safe for you to be in a fight. Your heart can't handle it. You old folks shouldn't be threatening to fight anybody. But then I don't know. Tell me what you guys think about this with Mark Cuban. Now, Mark Cuban is going to take he's going to do the Gavin Newsom, center of the road, centrist approach. But I do want to say this. What Mark Cuban's saying, whether I agree with it or not, this is kind of goes back to the debate with Andrew. I don't think I hold a majority position. I don't think Andrew holds a majority position. I think the majority position is more in the middle. I think this is probably the majority position. I just want to ask the Republicans here, why wouldn't you just advocate for what Cuban's going to advocate for here?
They should be putting Tom Homan on blast, saying, okay, the FBI has their top 10 most wanted list, right? Let's just get this right. Homan, don't, do it right.
El Dizzle said Tom Homan is the face of a stroke waiting to happen. That's not nice. Look, first of all, the way he speaks is a stroke that happened 5 times already.
List the top 100. Let's go after them. List the top 1,000, criminals that are here that need to be deported. We'll all help you. But the Democrats would never say something to the fact, we'll help you. They only have to do something that's the antithesis of what Trump says and does. You've never heard a Democrat say in the past 7 months, yeah, okay, I don't like it, but this is a step in the right direction. We're going to help, because I think the better path is for the Democrats to bring attention to the bad things and the good things and say on the good things, we'll help you, right? Which they would never say, because that disarms. Whenever you're in a sales environment and you say something positive.
I kind of agree with that. I do think that I don't think that this idea was floated, but I do think that there are times when in this last bill, this is the type of stuff Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer could have done. They could have come out with something like this and said, hey, how about this? We're all cool with you going after violent criminals, but let's go after violent criminals. Let's list off the top 100 or 1,000 violent criminals that we need to deport, and then ask Republicans to do that instead. I think that would. I think you'd have a hard time as a Republican being like, no, I don't agree with that. I do agree, and that's why we got to get rid of Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer. I don't know why they're in Congress. I don't know what they're there to do. Apparently, just totally optics. By the way, did you guys see? Did you see that Hakeem Jeffries got caught photoshopping his picture? Do you guys know about this? This is pretty tough. I got to put this on here. Let me find it. I forgot about this. I saw it on Majority Report. Here's the picture. It's Hakeem Jeffries. I guess just wanted to make his hips look a little thinner. But I got catfished, okay? So I'm not an expert here. And I think that if you guys would have seen the pictures I got catfished with, you probably would have figured it out before I'm. So I'm not saying I would have caught this. But I do know that the bench is probably not shaped that way. And I do know that these tiles are, I guess, what do you call those fucking things? What do you call those things? Whatever. I don't think that they're warped that way. He definitely took and look at his for some reason he's thicker there, and then his waistline goes in here. That was weird. I think that's a weird thing that he did. Not bricks. What's the word I'm looking? Pavers. Thanks, Matt. I appreciate it. Pavers. I don't think the pavers were shaped that way. It is weird. Hakeem Jeffries is weird. I'm done with Hakeem Jeffries. Back to Cuban.
Positive about your competition, it's disarming. Yeah, we're better, but these guys, that's not so bad. They're trying really hard. Okay, Tom Homan, we don't want criminals. If Venezuela and Colombia opened up their jails and sent all their worst criminals to us. We don't want them here either. If MS-13 has 173 gang members here from wherever, we don't want them here either. Post that list, and you know what? Chuck Schumer, I'm Chuck Schumer. I'm going to help you get rid of them. I'm going to post all those lists everywhere. We're all going to go after those bad guys together because they shouldn't be here. Now you disarm him. Now you disarm the Republicans who, think that that the Democrats can't get anything right. You do things that you can undermine. Undermining in the Democrats' perspective is always, you're wrong, it's Trump, you're wrong. The T word, Trump, is a trigger word, and you can't just always use that in a negative light. The best way to convince people to reconsider is to say, okay, they're doing this. Okay, we'll help them. But let's go, what about these people they're pulling off the streets in black hoodies, right? Post all the bad guys. We'll use our resources. Every single sanctuary city is going to, I'm going to make sure that they all allocate resources to go after the Tom Homan 100. And when one of them's off, you put another one on, we'll go after that one. Let's get those criminals out of here like they deserve to be.
And that's like that. Whatever you think about that idea, it's an idea. It's something that's different. It's something that you could probably find some agreement on. And it's, I think Cuban's right. I think that, whatever you want to say about Republicans, Democrats have been largely feckless, and the leadership of this party, I think, they got to ride the high of Obama, and they all got to take credit for what Obama did. And then when Biden won, I think they took that as a team win. And the reality is Joe Biden won because a lot of people really didn't like Donald Trump, and that's why Joe Biden won. It wasn't like he ran this phenomenal campaign. It's not like he was some incredibly effective public speaker. It wasn't that he was inspiring. He won because people didn't want Donald Trump, and especially coming off of the threats to our sovereignty and the election fraud stuff, the two impeachments. The constant lies. Unfortunately, we just have short memories in America, and when it came time to vote again, a lot of people in this country were like, "Oh, I don't remember things were bad under Trump. I just remember COVID. Before COVID, I felt better, and after COVID, I felt worse. Therefore, I vote for Trump." And then last bit of public self-fellatio. Here's Scott Jennings wrapping this up at Turning Point USA by telling us how great everything about the Republican Party is. And publicly jacking off Donald Trump so he could sell his book, which he's going to mention the book that he's selling. And then we got to get out of here. We were nowhere close on the gift goal, and that's 100% my fault. But if any of you guys want to get last-minute comments in to help wipe that out, that would be greatly appreciated. Both Jen and I have a hard cutoff, so after this video, I've got to go. Marlene said, I'm a 61-year-old out-of-shape woman with a bad back, and I could beat up Tom Homan. And I fully believe that. I absolutely believe that. Here is Scott Jennings from CNN selling his book and publicly jacking off Donald Trump.
I'm here to talk about the revolution of common sense. That's the title of my upcoming book, and the phrase is courtesy of Donald J. Trump. And I wrote it because half the country deserves a defense of perhaps the greatest opening 6 months of any presidential term ever. And because
I just don't get it. For the life of me, I don't get it. There's no measure by which this has been a successful 6 months. If you wanted to say it's been like hit and miss, that's fine. If you want to say like I like a lot of the things Trump did, that's fine. But to say the greatest 6 months in the history of our country, that's a fucking insane thing to say. That is absolutely insane. He got a tax cut passed along party lines, not even along party lines, couldn't even get uniformity in his party. He's doing mass deportations that are far less effective than his predecessor. And he's done executive order after executive order, many of which have been struck down by the courts. I don't know why, but like, even as a Republican, by what measure is this the best 6 months? I have no idea. I can't think of a measure that this would be incredible. There's no measure by which this is incredible. So the constant filleting of the first 6 months is really fucking bizarre, but it makes sense when you're a guy who's just up there trying to sell a book.
I am tired of mindless liberals telling me every night, any day now, you all are all going to regret your votes from last November. Does a single person in this hall wish you could hop in a hot tub time machine and go back to November and vote for Kamala Harris or that buffoon Tim Walz?
No, but there's a lot of people who have said that. Is he pretending these people? Yeah, I can't believe that nobody at the Turning Point USA event thinks that. Are we just going to pretend that like Andrew Schultz, one of the most popular podcasts in the country, who brought Donald Trump on during the campaign and openly campaigned for him, isn't saying I fucked up? Are we just going to pretend that? We're just going to pretend that there are not public figures out there saying like this was a mistake? Just the Turning Point USA crowd. Those are the ones. I don't know why he's pretending it doesn't exist. It's not a majority, but pretending this doesn't exist is pretty fucking crazy.
Hell no. Ladies and gentlemen, this is what I voted for. This is what we voted for.
Tepid response to that. Did you notice the difference there? A lot of people very excited to boo Kamala. This is what we voted for? Tepid.
I wrote this book because I'm tired of gender studies majors lecturing welders about economics. I'm tired of condescending garbage from a...
What is that? It's been quite successful. Biased, politically motivated courts. Tariffs were surprisingly not devastating to the economy. Inflation slowed. We had negative quarterly GDP for the first time in years. Our first quarter GDP was negative. Our jobs numbers were 60,000 short of projections. The only benefit is like increased tariff revenue, which is a tax. That is just Americans have been taxed more. That's it. It's crazy. Like all the courts that rule against us are biased, and everything else was perfect. That was a pretty rough explanation for why this is the greatest 6 months to start a presidency ever. I appreciate you trying. That feels lackluster. Cookie Nib said, "Fuck Yahtzees. I like my ice crushed. Thank you, Jane Jen, the kindest, gentlest, sweetest lady in the world. W. Jen."
Political party that cares more about dudes who want to be women than dudes who just want to be dudes.
There it is. There's
the truth.
There's talking about trans people to the applause of like 4 people. I just want to point out once again that the only time we ever really talk about trans people is when we're responding to Republicans being obsessed with trans people. There was no like open campaigning to cut your kids' dicks off. That wasn't a thing. Leggett, thank you for donating. Said malarkey. What the fuck? Amy Lynn said U.S. dollar's down. True. Yeah, the power of the dollar is also down.
The matter is, in America, common sense is back. And it's not coming from the people who pump out the narratives and the BS.
Thanks, Elena and Melissa, for joining the Dollar Train.
It's coming from places like this, from the grassroots, from middle America, from the bottom up, from people like our friend Charlie, and from every single person in this room. And who kicked this revolution into high gear? Who turned common sense into a battle cry? Who campaigned without flinching? And who governs without apology?
What is that? He doesn't apologize. Oh, I fucking love that. He didn't flinch on the campaign trail. Oh, I saw him flinch when he got hit with shrapnel in his ear. I remember that. I remember him flinching then. That was a flinch. What is this? This is so weird. This is such a weird way to talk about somebody that isn't like Jesus Christ. He did not back down, and he never apologizes. All right. That doesn't sound good. Imagine saying that like about your significant other. What do you like about your spouse? They never apologize, and they never back down. That's why I love them so much. Okay.
The President of the United States, Donald J. Trump.
Then I jizzed in my pants.
Now here's a reality check for my colleagues. The president's having the best 6 months of any president of the modern era.
Said that already.
His policies reinforce and advance the conservative movement, and they've put America back on track. We encourage work instead of government dependence. We prioritize American citizens over illegal aliens. We secure the border instead of pretending that it doesn't exist. We unleash American energy instead of bottling it up. We keep taxes low on the people who actually pay them, the working men and women of this country, from the assembly lines to the barber shops to the diners, to the garbage trucks, to the farmers in the fields.
We don't give a fuck about them. We're charging them more taxes, and we cut taxes for a bunch of rich people. But I have to mention them so that they think we give a goddamn.
Hardworking Americans that just want to get up and go to work, provide for their families, make their lives a little bit better without being condescended to by the elites in Washington, D.C.
Oh, no, somebody was condescending to me. I better vote for the guy who's going to give tax breaks to billionaires.
Like this like boo-hoo shit is getting old.
I voted for Donald Trump against my best interest because sometimes when I say racist things, people get mad at me. So I voted for Trump, who's going to give tax breaks to billionaires and not do a goddamn thing for me. And people are still going to get mad at me when I say racist things. Nothing changed. If you say some dumb shit, people are going to say you're saying some dumb shit. People are still going to be critical of you. The only difference is you get to now be like, yeah, but we won. That's it. That's what you got out of this presidency. You get to say bigoted things, and then when people call you out on it, you get to go, yeah, but we won. This is why you lost. That's it. That's what you got. And that was enough for you. That's the crazy thing. That's honestly enough for you to feel happy about this administration. They're taxing the fuck out of the middle class. They're giving massive breaks to the rich at the detriment of you and the futures of your children. They're going to spend into debt. Now Donald Trump has a private army that's like the 8th largest in the world. He has his own massive private army that now he's saying, hey, go out there, private army. And if anybody gets in your way, arrest them. Do whatever the fuck you want. Fuck their constitutionally granted rights. Fuck the constitutionally granted rights to searches and seizures. Oh, who gives a fuck about the separation of powers? Yeah, who cares if ICE isn't really allowed to detain American citizens? Donald Trump wrote a tweet that they are now, so they can just do it. Use whatever force necessary. That's fine. By the way, can we just point out that everybody who threw rocks at those ICE vans should be arrested? But when Donald Trump says you need to use whatever force necessary to protect yourself, they did. They drove away. Most of the windows didn't shatter. Some of them did. And all of those people should be arrested. But the thing that they did to keep themselves safe was drive away. You already gave them that authority. You already gave them the authority to drive away. What would happen in those cases? Wait, those Republicans that are here, like, what do you want them to do? What do you think ICE should do? Get out of the car, arrest somebody? And then if they throw rocks when they get out of the car, then shoot somebody? I think that what you guys want to see is death. I think that's what you actually want to see. And I think that that's what Trump wants. Because you think once one person gets shot, then everybody will stop. And you might be right. Maybe people will stop if you shoot them. But now we're talking about our government shooting people. I don't think that's a great idea. I don't think it's a super good idea to have our government shooting people. If you want those ICE raids to be protected and you want people to be arrested, go ahead, have the police follow behind. And when they throw rocks at your vans on your way out, the police, whose job it is to arrest people, investigate crimes, they can arrest people. But this weekend, our president said, I don't like this, so you guys can do whatever you want. Exports $279 billion. This represents a decrease of $11.6 billion compared to April exports, while imports were $350.5 billion. Thank you, Amy Lynn. So we are decreasing our exports. Also, one of the things Trump is latching onto is they say that we had like this, we had a budget surplus because of the tariffs. By the way, they're not that uncommon. Monthly budget surpluses are not that uncommon. They do happen. But this was this is the one that I don't get. You guys are bragging about a budget surplus from tariffs. And guess what that means? It seems to be that you're saying we tax people more and the economy gets stronger. It's almost like you're admitting that we can tax people without the economy tanking. Until it affects them, until we tax them to the point that the economy starts tanking, you can tax people more. Seems like maybe we could tax rich people a little bit more, huh? Seems like it. You guys are celebrating a tax increase. And you're like, look, this works. Yeah, that's what we've been telling you. You can increase taxes so that you don't have to go into debt. We could tax people more and we could have a balanced budget, or we could have no deficit spending.
We could start paying down our debt if we tax people appropriately. We can't do that because it's the billionaires. But if it's corporations and the middle class, that's fucking fine. Let's tax them. Isn't that weird? Isn't that weird how you guys would be fucked without the tariffs? But now you have tariff revenue. You're like, see, told you. Yeah, you taxed Americans. Yes, we should tax people more. Yeah, that's what we've been trying to tell you. Tax people more. If you're going to increase spending, you have to increase taxes. And if you decrease spending a little bit and increase taxes a little bit, every year we're going to pay off our debt a little bit. And you'll start to see that debt come down. But we can't do that because we have to tax billionaires, right? Or we can't tax billionaires. Amy Lynn said, oh, I got that one. Apex Eater said he diddles kids and his polls go down and the weird billionaires campaign for him to save his ass. Yeah, facts. Facts. This is killing him, though. The Epstein stuff, we'll cover that tomorrow. It is a problem for Trump. It's not going away. They can try and make it go away all they want, but it's not. All right. Let me check Jen's real quick, and then we'll get out of here. Thank you, Amy, for joining for the gift goal. Chris said, I got lung cancer watching the debate. Healthcare for all sure would be nice right now. I told Sarah that when I was preparing for the debate. I said I got a nicotine addiction. And Melissa and Elena, I think I got those ones as well. If I missed anybody, is there anybody in the chat that I missed your comment? I want to make sure I didn't miss any. I think I got them all. I think we're good to go. All right, everybody. We'll be back tomorrow morning, 9:30 to 1. Tomorrow we'll end probably right around the same time. And then we have date night with Admir Tuesday night. Wednesday we'll be back at 9:30. Thursday we may take the day off just because I have debates Thursday night. We'll see. Thursday might be a day off, or we might have a full show. It's legitimately going to just depend on how I feel like Wednesday evening. So I'll let you guys know Wednesday evening if we're going to have a show on Thursday morning. But I will see you guys tomorrow morning and every weekday morning, 9:30 a.m. to 1 Pacific Standard Time right here. Make sure you're subscribed on YouTube. And if you want to catch us with the debates on Thursday, that you have a paid subscription either on YouTube, Twitch, or TikTok. Other than that, we'd love to have you guys engage with us in every other way possible. Thank you guys for the support and for dealing with all the technical difficulties today. We'll see you guys tomorrow morning, bright and early. Stay cute and cool, and have a great summer.